Hello, welcome to the Eurogamer.net podcast number 122.
Is it?
It is. I'm Tom Champion, and with me today, Dan Pearson.
Hello.
Dan, you're now GamesIndustry.biz European Deputy Editor? European, as they say?
Deputy Editor, that's correct. Well, only one man in Europe can tell me what to do.
Fantastic.
And that is Francois Mitterrand, ex-president of France.
Who knows why?
Well, he's a very established figure in the gaming community.
He is. Well, it's lovely to have you here, Dan. It's just me and you today.
It is a little bit lonely, isn't it?
It is. We have, if, for those of you watching the video, there is a 2 litre bottle of water in the other chair.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to say too much.
No.
He's not in shot.
He's not in shot. Oh, James says he's not in shot. He's furious. I can see it on his little plastic face. Oh, no, there he is. Lovely. So as you probably know, there are still relatively few games out this summer. So we're going to have a little chat about some old games, aren't we, Dan? We're going to have a little chat about how we got into games, what the first games there were that we played.
It's an excellent sentence.
Lost that sentence completely.
Yeah, have a little wistful meander down memory lane.
It's a fireside chat. It's the kind of thing you might get on Radio 4.
Is it?
At about 2 a.m.
Oh, I was thinking more kind of like a bit more street, like kind of Brooklyn public access TV or something.
Oh, really? A bit like...
Well, we could have like a,
Radio 1 Extra?
Stoop chat.
Right.
Where it'll be like, yeah, back in the day, dog.
Yeah.
And pour one out for our homies.
Hustling C64 games.
Yeah, that's what we were doing.
Or whatever. And I'm glad it's you sitting here.
Thanks.
Because we're both in our 30s, aren't we, Dan?
We are, yes.
Shamefully.
Early 30s.
Early 30s. Should stress that, yeah. Whereas if we had someone like Tom Phillips sitting here...
He wouldn't know what we're talking about.
I think the first game he played was Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, probably. And that was only after Mass Effect 3 had come out.
Bless his cotton socks.
And he played it on the Nintendo.
Anyway, yeah. We'll crack on. Dan, so tell us, what was the first game you ever played as a wee lad?
I think, it's the first game I ever played ever, was probably at school on either an Acorn Electron or one of them other ones.
One of them other BBC?
Maybe a BBC Micro. I don't know. I think we had something different.
Granny's Garden?
No, it was a thing called Suburban Fox.
Suburban Fox.
Yeah, which was like a little grid-based thing where there was a little fox head, quite reminiscent of the Spry Fox logo, and you wandered around and you had to kind of survive, basically, eating out of bins, which gave you a chance of like getting trapped or caught by shopkeepers. And
really prepared you for life in Brighton.
It really did, yeah. And you had to cross roads. That's always helped. You had to cross roads safely. You could chase rabbits, but that knackered you out. So not always a great idea. So I've steered clear of that.
Yeah.
We could get shot by farmers or ripped to pieces by dogs.
Ripped to pieces by dogs. So the first game you played was in school.
Yeah, we had whatever this machine was. I think it had sort of a little attached monitor Dubry and some red keys on it. Maybe it was an Acorn, I don't know. But yeah, they had that on it. That was the only game they had. The only other thing we ever used it for was Logic. Do you remember that?
Oh, vaguely.
Where you had the little like tortoise thing, and you like go forward 30, turn right 60, and everyone would draw a blocky picture of a penis, and then you'd go home. It's great. Good times.
Good stuff.
How about you, Tom? What was what broke your gaming virginity?
Stole my gaming cherry.
Yeah.
I think it was a game called Psst.
Ah, yes.
On the Spectrum 48K. I think I was about 7 years old, and my parents had a Spectrum 48K. None of that fancy schmancy 128K nonsense.
Separate tape deck.
Yeah.
You had to adjust the volume
I had to do all that. Had the Kempston joystick with the interface. You had to configure for every single game. And Psst, which was quite an irritating game. Actually, it was look it up it's on YouTube actually, but it's a single screen game where there was a kind of like a flower growing at the middle of the screen, and then from both left and right would come a variety of different bugs. It started out with like worms, and then eventually it'd be like wasps. The wasps were complete bastards. Yep. So you had to
very true to life, very realistic.
You were a little robot, and you had to fly around the screen, spraying all the various bugs with your spray.
Yep.
The sprays were different colours.
Little dude that looked a little bit like the Android mascot.
Yeah, something like that. It was a little robot dude, and they'd flood to the centre of your screen and start nibbling on your plant. So you had to spray them, while the plant grew, and then eventually it flowered, and then that was the end of the level.
Yeah.
But even then, back then I remember, I don't know how or why I stuck with gaming, because if that's the first game I played, it was really irritating.
Yeah, well, a lot of them were. I mean, the other games I played at home had one called Nifty Lifty, which we had a look at on YouTube earlier, which was awful. It just involved running from one side of the screen to the other and avoiding a lift in the middle. And there was another called Horace Goes Skiing. You're a big fan of Horace games?
Yes, Horace Goes Skiing.
Yeah, again, almost impossible, very annoying.
2 parts, didn't it? It had the first bit was the Frogger screen.
Yeah.
You had to try and cross the road.
Basically getting to the mountain.
Yeah, getting to the mountain, which was really hard.
Yeah.
And I only think I ever made it like maybe 25% of the time.
Yeah.
And then you get to the actual skiing,
yeah,
which was even harder.
Yeah, it was basically Frogger, but you're constantly moving, and gates would appear at random, and you'd have to not crash into them and die.
Bastards. So, did you had a Spectrum then?
I went straight in for the +2.
The +2?
Circa 1990, I suspect. Maybe a little bit earlier, probably about 10.
Late to the Spectrum game.
Yep, and I got a special Curry's package for Christmas. They came in a little box with a little rainbow in the corner and came with 10 games.
10 games, you remember any of them?
Yeah. Well, one of them was Nifty Lifty. There was a snooker game, which was pretty advanced for its time, considering physics and everything, I think. What was in the Missile Command?
Brutally hated Missile Command.
Yeah, it was incredibly impossible, especially without a mouse. With a joystick, where you're just like,
yeah.
Impossible. A game called Millionaire, which was awesome, where you had to run your own software house.
See, that sounds pretty good.
It was brilliant. It was great. You had to decide what genre of game you're making and whether you were going to put out cover tapes, and then you went to go and see a man called Honest Harry, and you could buy cheap hooky tapes off him that had fallen off the back of a lorry and stuff. It was brilliant. Absolutely great game. What else was in there? Ooh, loads of toss. Loads of really awful stuff.
Attic Attack?
I missed a lot of those classics. I never really played Attic Attack or Manic Miner or Jet Set Willy or any of those kind of platformy games because they were a bit hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were stupidly hard. I played Manic Miner. Was dreadful at it. See, there's a running theme throughout this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm basically dreadful at games, and I found them all very irritating.
Yeah.
Why do we do this?
I don't know. How did we end up in this?
Yeah, right. There is something compelling about them. But yeah, Attic Attack was a shit of a game.
It was.
Multiple rooms, and you had to kind of find your way out.
Yeah, and loads of secret tunnels that weren't marked at all.
No,
it's just you can walk into this wall and you'll go through it.
Yeah, if you walk through this grandfather clock, you will magically appear the other side.
Yeah,
and they were bad guys, but the thing was your health deteriorated all the time.
Yeah,
it depleted constantly. So you had to keep picking up food, but there was hardly any food around.
Yeah, so to plan your routes perfectly.
But it was a real trial and error thing. You just had to keep going through it, and then just try and piece together the bits, just replaying it over and over.
Yeah.
But
I think that's partly a limit of design, wasn't it? If you only have, the most you could ever have was 256 screens because it was because of the RAMs or something.
Of the RAMs,
as far as I understand it. But yeah, I think it was a limitation of that, and it just got to be you had to repeat it until you were perfect at it. I actually, part of my extensive research for this podcast,
right,
when I sat and watched some YouTube videos for 20 minutes, one of the ones I watched. For 12 minutes of that 20 minutes was of a game called The Alchemist, which is another Spectrum game I had where you could turn into a giant eagle. You were a wizard, you could turn into a giant eagle, and it had 12 screens, and you had to wander around and find 4 bits of a scroll, and that was it. But it was just, you had to do it. There was only one possible way you could do it. It was incredibly specific and incredibly boring, and I never bothered working it out. I just did fly around being an eagle and getting killed by sticks, I think.
Nice.
Great times.
Great times. We were watching another video as well for an old Spectrum game. The slightly weird Frankie Goes to Hollywood game.
Yeah. Very, very strange. I had that in
which
a
my
box set.
friend had, I think. And I remember playing it a few times at his house with no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really thought about it until we were doing the prep for this podcast, and I was suddenly like, oh man.
It didn't explain what was going on at all.
But then you go and watch it on YouTube, and yeah, I've still got no idea what was going on.
No, I had that as part of a box set from Ocean called Ocean's Magnificent Seven. That had that and a Football Manager game and Saboteur 2 in, which was awesome. But yeah, it made no sense. You picked up what looked like 2 conjoined sperm that gave you peace or something, and then you got hearts, and you had to become a real person whilst wandering through this weird sort of 8-bit suburbia and then doing weird mini games that came out of clocks and TVs and things.
It was kind of strange. It was quite political, I guess.
It was, yeah. I had a little game with Gorbachev and Reagan shooting stuff out their mouths at each other.
Perestroika.
Yeah, very good. Glasnost.
Well, thank you too. Any other highlights from the Spectrum era?
Well, I'd say Saboteur and Saboteur 2 were brilliant, like genuinely actually pretty good. Really quite nice animation for the old 8-bit era, like massive games, especially Saboteur 2 was huge. You started and you were on a little hang glider and you did a little and then you got some shuriken and stuff. Oh, it was great. And you had to punch dogs in the mouth. Brilliant.
Ouch.
Again, never finished it. Incredibly difficult. At
Did
the
you
end,
actually finish any games on the Spectrum?
A couple of the text adventures, I think.
Lords of Midnight?
Oh, God, no, that was impossible. That was absolutely impossible. That was you gathering the armies and wandering around and doing it. That was ridiculous. I think I finished the Lord of the Rings like adventure game thing, not the text adventure, but the one where you had to go and get armies and stuff and fight orcs. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember a text. I didn't really play the text games, but
Rebel Planet, that was my favourite.
I vaguely remember one called, I think it was called Martha something or other.
Martha Stewart's Home Cooking.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Probably that.
I've no idea what it was, but anyway, I was just dreadful at them because you just sit there typing in command after command.
They were often pretty pernickety. Like you'd have to type in, specifically pick up the green October calendar, something. Hope
for the best.
Classics. Tir Nog. Did you ever play that one? Or Marsport?
No, neither of those.
No. Shame, that would have been a very rich vein of conversation.
Well, you can go for it, mate. I'm eager to learn.
Well, they were great. They were little side-scrolling kind of adventure-y things where you're a little man wandering about. One was set in ancient times, and one was set in future times. But yeah, they were great, and it flipped around, so you didn't know where you were going all the time, and you had to just arbitrarily walk to places and pick stuff up and walk to other places. Again, triumph for design.
Night Law.
Night Lord, I remember Night Lord. Night Lord was the one that was a bit like Saberwolf.
Sort of a Saberwolf.
Top down.
It was isometric.
Ooh.
Viewpoint in Night Law.
Okay, a bit more advanced.
Pretty difficult then.
Like head over heels.
Yeah, like Head Over Heels. And maybe I think one of the Batman games.
Yeah, there was a Batman game like that. Where you're a little tubby Batman. Yeah.
Fatty Batman.
Yeah.
Fatty bats. Get your fat bats right here. What?
Yeah, fat.
Move on.
Yeah. What was Chaos? Julian Gollop. You must have played that.
It sounds.
With all
that from that description, I'm not
really. You had 8 wizards. It was just a black screen.
8 wizards.
And you had 8 wizards, and you could summon creatures, and they all had a corresponding difficulty depending on how chaotic or good you were, which you got more chaotic and more good as you cast those spells, and then you could cast illusion spells, but then people could just do the which would dispel them if they were illusions.
Sounds pretty complex.
It was amazing. It had ranged combat, it had tertiary shielding spells and lightning. Oh, it was amazing. And he then went on to make some other great games.
Like what?
Laser Squad.
Oh, Laser Squad. See, I've heard of Laser Squad.
Yeah, Julian Gollop, he's a prince amongst men.
Where is he now?
He's still in the industry. He did something fairly recent. I think he did a conversion of Laser Squad for the DS, and I'm pretty sure he still works in the industry. Yeah.
There you go.
Great times.
Good stuff. So, Spectrum. Do you remember what you moved on to after the Spectrum?
I stuck with the Spectrum for a long time. Actually, my next one after that was a SNES. I always say SNES. Everyone else says SNES, and it annoys
me.
You say
SNES.
SNES.
SNES. It's wrong, though, isn't it, Dan? No, it's not.
I don't know. I think it just makes more sense.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Why?
SNES sounds like a Z.
Well, anyway. So SNES. What did you?
I got the. It came with the old Super Mario World, which was the first game that I ever pretended to be ill to take a day off school to play.
Respect.
Yeah. First game I ever completely 100%ed as well.
Wow, you did the lot.
Yeah, 96 worlds, all of the Star Trail stuff and all that. They were incredibly hard, all of that nonsense. The ones with names like Cowabunga and Gnarly and stuff like that, they were really tough.
It sounds like while you were busy playing the SNES, and so were a lot of my schoolmates, I, on the other hand, was stuck with the Master System.
Oh.
which was a real shame.
Alex Kidd, Miracle World.
Alex Kidd Miracle World built in to the system, Dan. So you switched it on, and there it was.
Nice idea, I like that.
Boom.
Shame they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the last time they did do something like that.
Was there one in one of the handhelds, maybe?
I'm trying to think if there was something on the Saturn or something.
God, no, never went near that.
Oh, the Saturn was brilliant.
No, let's not start this now.
No, I should not probably start talking about the Saturn because I will just go on forever. Anyway, I had a Master System.
Road Rash?
No, it's just the way I'm sitting.
I didn't even plan that, listeners.
Not even scripted. Alex Kidd, Altered Beast, which was terrible.
Yeah. Although it had an excellent digitised voice sample at the beginning, at least in the C64 version that my mate had. Went, Altered Beast!
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But just a horrible scrolling beat 'em up.
Very tedious and incredibly hard again.
Very boring.
Yeah.
Hang On.
Yeah, and Super Hang On.
Then Motorbikes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. I had a couple of other Alex Kidd games as well. There was about 4 of them in the end.
Trying to think. I remember the
Ninja
cases.
Land.
Yeah.
There's one.
Shinobi, was that on Master System?
Shinobi was on the Master System, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one.
They had those cases with the blue grid on, didn't they? And just like a very simple 2D bit of art.
Oh yeah, check out the box art for Master System games. There is a theme. It's just a little cartoon character and then just
blue grids.
Blue grids.
Yeah.
Very big on their blue grids. So you never got down with the Master System, yeah?
No, I just missed that out. One of my friends had one, I think, and then they upgraded to a Mega Drive, which we almost exclusively used to play Speedball. And
fine game.
Yeah, and a weird isometric sort of animated dungeon adventure thing called The Sorcerer or something like that. That was alright. But yeah, mostly just Speedball, which I was crap at.
Wonder Boy, brilliant game. Wonder Boy in Monsterland, I think, or Monster World.
Sounds a little bit like Alex Kidd in Miracle Land.
It does. It does. There is some similarity there with the title. Actually, well, it was a bet. I thought it was the Wonder Boy games. I think were generally better than the Alex Kidd games.
Oh, there you go.
In my honest opinion, though.
There was Bonk on that as well.
Bonk, you've made that up. I don't know. What
Bonk the Caveman.
Bonk the Caveman.
Yeah, pretty sure it was Bonk, and then there was a Bonk Junior. We played his little. I'm pretty sure I'm not making that up. Maybe. Yeah, because you got a little skateboard. You got a little stone skateboard, and you were like.
Oh no, I know what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not Bonk though.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is.
Just saying yeah.
It is.
Doesn't make it right.
Maybe we could get James to research it.
What's that? What is it?
James is on his iPhone.
Yeah, what is it?
He's researching.
Bonk.
Bonk. Just search for Bonk.
Search for Bonk.
It's the internet's not going to come up with a game, is it?
You might want to put the safe search on.
Yeah. Mega Drive. Bonk Caveman.
On the Mega Drive?
Pretty sure it's Mega Drive. I mean, it might have been a PC game from 3 years ago called something totally different.
NEC's Turbo Graphics 16.
NEC?
Yeah, Turbo Graphics 16, there you go.
Is that right?
Sounds right.
That doesn't sound like Mega Drive to me, though.
Well, similar. That and the PC Engine and the Wonder Swan. I mean, I never really knew what they were. They were all just things I read about in magazines.
I remember reading magazines and people and journalists banging on about the PC Engine as if like everyone all gamers were playing on a PC Engine.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone who had a PC Engine or had even
and
seen
the Neo Geo
PC
as well.
Engine.
That was just a fabled mythical beast, basically.
Yeah, famous for having for each game costing between £100 and £200.
Yeah, completely. But it was basically an arcade PCB board, wasn't it?
Yes.
But no, nobody ever had one of those. I never saw one of the games. I never saw one for sale. I never saw anyone using one. I only ever saw screenshots in like Super Play occasionally where they'd be like, maybe this game will come out, and the SNES, oh no, it won't.
And it was NES, Game Boy, Amiga, Virtual Console.
All of the
Turbo
consoles.
Graphics 16.
James is reading out lists of consoles if you can't hear this.
There he is, look.
Oh!
In your chops.
There you go. For those of you watching the video, it's now there.
Points.
Bonks. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Good
Just
stuff.
sit back now, my work is done.
One retro point to you, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, we should have done a little quiz, shouldn't we? We should have set each other little quiz questions. Maybe we could do that on the fly now.
I did a quiz 2 weeks ago on this and it didn't go down very well.
Wow.
People were angry.
Really?
Well, not angry because they don't listen to it. But if anyone had been listening to it, they were aggressively indifferent.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice.
Well, no, it's fine. They liked it really. They just don't know it.
Fat Wham blows a sparky.
What?
Yeah, don't remember that?
I'm pretty sure you can't say that.
That was a game by Durrell. Do you remember Durrell?
Nope.
They made Spectrum games on blue cassettes.
Fancy bastards.
With the little lead-in tape had Durrell written on it, and there was a little warning. It was the first anti-piracy warning I ever saw when I was a kid. The thing came up at the beginning and said, if this is not an official Durrell tape, it's not blue plastic, and it doesn't have the little Durrell thing on the pre-tape, then you can earn £100 by sending it to us.
Yes.
And giving us information. So several people at my school tried to record them onto other blank cassettes and send them in and get £100 by dubbing in school friends, but it didn't work. I think they got wise to that.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, piracy was... I mean, they talk a lot about piracy these days, but it was pretty rampant, especially on Spectrum and Amiga and that sort of thing. Spectrum, all you needed was 2 tape decks.
Yeah, although you had to be quite careful with the volume setting.
Yes, my dad had to do this.
Yeah.
And very...
not
that he ever pirated
well, no,
video games,
mine was quite was quite keen on just like happy to help. He was like, oh yeah, we'll just copy that across. Because he used to do it with music all the time. He was like, oh, it's not that different. And I did used to spend a lot of money on games. But yeah, it's in more innocent times, I think. More innocent times. But you could... The weirdest about it is you could buy games everywhere then. John Menzies, W.H. Smith's.
I don't even think... Does John Menzies even exist anymore?
Not anymore. Not for about 10 years.
Lest we forget.
Yeah. But W.H. Smith's, you go into any newsagent and there'd be a little rack. Boots. Boots is where you spell up my games.
Boots, yeah. Boots, you sell games.
Yeah. A little rack of cassettes in there and you'd go in and get your whatevers with your things.
Your whatever and pick up some headache tablets.
Yeah.
And
we could have a really annoying little quiz where I sort of mention random facts that I remember about a game and you try and remember what it was for me.
This is getting more and more like one of those awful I remember the 70s programmes you get on BBC Two.
Yeah, can I be Toby Anstis?
You be Toby Anstis. I'll be... Shit, quick, think of something annoying. Peter Kay.
Yeah.
And I will recall facts from video game facts.
Place them in context.
From some time. Did you have an Amiga?
No.
That's a whole quiz / conversation avenue closed off to
I didn't really know many people with Amigas, to be honest.
I had an Amiga.
Did you?
I
didn't know you then.
Yeah. After I should have written to you. Amiga. I had an Amiga 500 Plus.
Did you? Fancy.
The Plus indicated that it had an extra half a meg of RAM or something.
Crikey, that's significant.
Yeah, so it had a whopping 1 meg of RAM in total.
I don't remember, you could get quite good music programs on the old Amiga, couldn't you?
I didn't really fiddle about. I wasn't creative, Dan, although I did have Deluxe Paint.
Yeah, that was good.
Obviously.
Good fun. Do you have a mouse?
I did have a mouse, very clunky little mouse, and the OS was called Workbench.
Yeah.
And
I remember being very confused the first time I used a friend's Amiga. Actually, I had one friend who had one, a guy called Alex Elliott, and he sort of loaded it up and was like, yeah, you can play around with it. I was like, what is this? Why hasn't it just started playing games for me? What am I supposed to do with all this? File systems, OSs, the Windows, it was a complete nightmare. I had no idea.
Garbage. It did have a program within Workbench where it would kind of... You could basically enter some text and then it would read it out.
Yeah.
In a variety of voices.
Yeah.
It was ahead of its time.
Shit bastard. Brilliant.
Shit bastard. That was fun for about 5 minutes.
Yep.
But no, I spent a lot of time with the Amiga. It was just the thing I had after the Master System.
Yep. Sensible World of Soccer.
A classic.
Yeah.
And Sensible World of Soccer, one of the first instances of patching in a game that I can
Was it now?
remember.
How did they do that? Just send you something through the post.
They released, there was a game, I think it was 95, 96.
Is that the one with Rude Hullet on the cover? Going.
I don't know if Rude Hullet, was he on the Sensible World of Soccer?
Pretty sure he
was. He was on the front of one of them. Yeah. I don't know if it was just Sensible Soccer.
Yeah, maybe just Sensible Soccer.
Anyway, they released this new updated version, and it didn't really work. Well, it worked fine, but there were a lot of errors and bugs and stuff, and a lot of people complained.
Yeah.
And actually, so what happened then? They got interviewed, I think, by Amiga Power, and readers sent in loads of questions. A lot of them were about why is your game so bugged, and rather answer them honestly, they spent about 3 or 4 pages giving really sort of disingenuous, sarcastic replies.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like them at all.
And moaning about what had happened. Anyway, look it up. I think this edition of Amiga Power is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Online. You can read it in PDF format. Anyway, it was really bad. But on the same month or the month after, they released a whole patch on the front of Amiga Power.
On a cover disc.
On a cover disc.
Yes, those days.
Which, kind of effectively patched the game to address some of the errors.
Oh, that's nice.
And that was the first time I can.
Was it
really
one of those things where you had to put the original disc in and then take it out and put the second one in before you played it?
You had to do some fancy smancy stuff where you created a new sort of boot disc thing.
Yeah.
And then it solved a lot of the problems that people were moaning about.
I remember some of that jazz. Yeah.
And so I didn't really play PC games too much back then.
No.
So that is the first time I can remember a game being patched. What
about multiplayer? What's your first experience with multiplayer?
What, same screen?
Yeah.
Probably a football game that I can't remember the name of on the Spectrum.
Matchday Plus?
Don't know. I remember I used to play it with my dad, and he used to beat me. A separate issue, not in the game. No, of course he didn't. He would crush me at it pretty much every time, which made me very upset.
It was Matchday Plus, which was kind of like the mixed management playing sim, where they all had massive heads. Gary Speed was the best player.
Gary Speed. He was a very good player in Central World of Soccer.
Yeah. And what was there was who was the footballer? Scottish bloke, I think.
Colin Hendry.
No, before that, and he had a football game after him.
Ali McCoist.
Ewan or something, or
Ewan. That's Welsh.
Something. But yeah, that was awful anyway. So you didn't want to play that one.
Do you remember your first multiplayer thing?
Yeah, Spy versus Spy.
Oh, what format was that?
That was on Spectrum. Played on 2 halves of the same keyboard. One person using MNOP, I think, and one person using something over here. QAZ and Q.
All the
Q
keys.
Something, yeah. It was grand. It was grand. Great little game. They've just re-released it for iOS, and Chris Donlan did a lovely little retrospective for Eurogamer just the other day. Yeah, retro-respective.
Actually, I do remember playing. There was a version of Bomberman on the Amiga, which came with an adapter, which created an additional 2 joystick ports. So you could have 5-player Bomberman on your Amiga.
Lord, that's incredible.
Which was
you had 5 joysticks.
Amazing, yeah. Although I think at that point because I had my Master System as well. You could actually use the Master System pads in the Amiga.
Oh, good Lord!
Because it was the same doodah on it, interface thing. You know what I'm saying?
12-pin connector. Yeah.
So I do remember playing a bit of 5-player Bomberman with some extended family.
Yeah, are they into that?
Fun. No, not really.
No. I mean, my dad used to play a few games with me. He used to play a bit of Matchday Plus or Matchday 2, and a bit of Battle of Britain, which was like a very early Spectrum RTS sort of thing, where you moved around little planes and then you went into an arcade section and shot at the Luftwaffe. We played a bit of that together. But yeah, not much family gaming. They weren't really into it. You have any brothers or sisters?
My sister, she wasn't really into gaming too much, although she was really into Grand Theft Auto on the PlayStation.
Fine.
It was converted to the PlayStation, wasn't it? Yeah. And she used to sit there reading the map for me while I do missions.
Oh, that's pretty helpful.
Which was fun. And I'd say, do you want to go, Charlotte? That is her name.
Is it?
And she'd be like, no, I'm happy reading the map.
Oh.
I'd be like, oh, respect.
Bless her.
Bonding moment for you there, Dan.
That's lovely, yeah. My stepsister used to have a little Spectrum 16K rubber key Malarkey, 16, maybe 48, don't know. But yeah, I think that was the first games I played at home were probably on that. I think that's where I played Horace Goes Skiing. And maybe Psst, actually, as well on that. Psst. Am I imagining it? Was the main guy in Psst called Cookie?
I don't know.
Or maybe, no, there was just another game called Cookie where you had to go collect like bits of a sandwich or something.
Like Chucky Egg?
No.
No?
No. More like Psst in that single screen wandering about and things coming out trying to get you kind of way.
Oh, Jetpack on the Amiga was a brilliant game.
Was it?
It was.
Really?
I think that was an Ultimate game. I may have made
it was, yeah.
Did Archer McLean make that? I probably made that up.
He made Pool.
No, he made something before. He made IK Plus, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah, it was alright. Not as good as Yao Kung Fu.
I had Yao Kung Fu on the Amiga or the Spectrum. Can't remember which.
And Bruce Lee, did you have that?
No, didn't have Bruce Lee. I don't think. That was very good action. So.
It was great.
That's exactly like.
It was Robbie the Robot.
Oh, can you see if there is one called Cookie? And I'm not making it up.
James says that the robot was called Robbie the Robot in Psst.
Yeah, see, and people say games are not creative enough these days.
No, those crazy bastards.
Yeah.
So what else? Oh, my first experience of LAN gaming.
Ooh.
Amiga.
Really?
Yes. It was terrible. I played because my granddad had an Amiga 500 Plus as well, and so sometimes I'd take mine to his house. And there was a little lead you could hook them up to, and there was a few games that supported LAN.
Yeah.
One of which was Populous 2, I think, and the other one was Knights of the Sky.
Yeah.
Which was a
little biplane
World War One era flight sim thing.
Yeah, remember that.
It was actually pretty good. So you could have a little dogfight, but it was shockingly unreliable.
Yeah.
And would frequently freeze one or both machines.
So that's good.
You generally would be able to play for about 10 minutes before it would die.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Cookie.
There you go. Yeah, that's
Cookie
also
on the
Ultimate Play the Game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
Ultimate, who then went on to become Rare.
Yes, they did, I believe.
What happened to Ocean? Did Ocean get bought by like EA or?
Ocean did get bought out by somebody.
Acclaim or someone like that?
Yeah, maybe because Acclaim at one point were bigger than EA is now. I think they had like a huge market cap. They were massive, and then they completely destroyed themselves in the first gaming crash of the late 80s, I think.
Was that when Atari were burying stuff in the Nevada desert, or was that way earlier?
Yeah, I think when they were landfilling ET, all that sort of thing.
Fun times. So what was so you had a SNES. What did you go
then
for
I
after that?
Went into the wilderness a bit after that. I had a brief around the same time we got our first PC, I think, which was had a 40 meg hard drive, and had about 3K of RAM or something. It's just ridiculous.
Hot.
But just about played Monkey Island 2 and a few sort of isometric or top-down party-based RPG games that I can't remember. There's one I was trying to find out for ages, and I still can't find out what it was called. And all I can remember is the combat system meant you could either swipe or stab or slash. Chop, slash, or stab. And then you had 3 defensive moves as well. You could either like parry, which was for stab, or dodge, which was for chop. And if you got the right one, it didn't hurt you at all. And if you got the wrong one, it hurt you double. And if you got just sort of the one that's in the middle, it would just hurt you a bit.
What format was that?
It was on PC. And all I can remember, they had these little pink gremlins, and like it was really basic, very pixelated graphics. And I've got no idea what it's called. And I've spent hours on old PC RPG forums trying to find out what it is, and indeed the Eurogamer forum trying to get people to find out for me, and I still can't find out what it's called. The only real thing I can remember about it its characters was that I called one of them Ray, because that was my stepsister's boyfriend's name at the time, and he gave me a copy of it. But obviously I called him that, so it wasn't actually in the game, so not very helpful.
Wonderful.
So yeah, briefly flirted with PC gaming for a while there, and then went into the wilderness a bit. Sort of didn't have a console for quite a while, between the SNES and the N64, I think.
Yeah, I think I went through a period like that as well for a little bit. I think it was when I was about 18, 19, and I had a Saturn, and I think I was with my first sort of serious girlfriend, and I was like, at that point I was kind of like,
coincide.
You know what, I'm at university now, I've got a girlfriend,
comes a time to leave childish things behind.
It's time we moved on from these ridiculous games and got on with my life.
Yep.
And so
good job you did
I actually sold my Saturn to fund a trip to go and see my girlfriend, and then she broke up with me.
Oh,
thanks, James. Yeah. It still scars me today, but thanks. I'm glad you're amused.
During the trip, whilst you were there.
No, before I went.
Oh, that really?
Yeah, over the phone.
You already booked your bus ticket?
I don't know if I had actually, but
that's all right then. So at least you got to spend the Saturn money on something fun.
I think I went out and bought Half-Life.
Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think I actually went out and bought Half-Life on PC.
Yeah, well, that's all right then. Silver lining.
Yeah, but what a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. I'm sure she's lovely.
Let's track her down.
Her name was Gemma. So.
Is that all you're going to tell us?
I can't remember her last name.
Oh, not that special.
No, she wasn't really. No, she was lovely, and
well, Gemma, if you're listening,
I'm sure she wasn't aware that I'd sold my beloved Sega Saturn.
No, she probably wasn't. She probably didn't care
for a pittance at a game station, I think it was.
Can't remember if I ever played a Saturn.
Saturn
and the Dreamcast and the Jaguar were all a bit of a mystery to me.
Oh, don't lump the Saturn in with the Jaguar.
Well,
or the 3DO.
Yeah,
or the Philips CDI.
Yeah, also. I remember playing the Philips CDI in a one of them department store things that they have.
Did you play? Oh God,
Dragon's Dungeon or whatever it was, or Dragon Quest, Dungeon Quest, Dragon.
I know what you mean. It's that one where you had to push left or right or press one of the buttons.
Impossible.
And it's rubbish.
Yeah.
And
came on a laserdisc the size of a plate.
I thought it was awful, but there are loads of people out there who think it's brilliant.
Yeah, they've remade it for XBLA.
I don't know why you would. It was dreadful.
Yeah, you could just. The best thing about it was finding out the ways you could die.
Yeah, I mean, it looked lovely.
Yeah, it looked like a little French animation.
But it was like the forerunner for QTEs.
Yeah.
You basically just had some stuff would happen on the screen, and then
you'd have no prompt at all.
Yeah, you'd have no prompt, and they'd just be like, well, push a button or something.
Yeah, you press the wrong one. Yeah,
inevitably.
I was thinking of a button. No, I was thinking of triangle.
Yeah, and then you have to do it all over again, and it was just dismal.
So what was on the Saturn then? That was Virtua Fighter territory, wasn't it?
Yeah, I bought one at launch for. It was lovely and cheap. It was about 450 quid.
Magic Carpet
for my 14th birthday. There was a conversion of Magic Carpet on it, which I had. I started out, came with Virtua Fighter, and I had Daytona as well.
Oh yeah.
And Daytona was actually brilliant. It was a really bad conversion in terms of there was more the black borders because it wasn't optimal. That was before the days when they used to optimize stuff when it was converted from Japan or whatever. It just looked dreadful, but it played really well. Virtua Fighter, and then I had Virtua Fighter 2, Sega Rally,
Panzer Dragoon.
I had Panzer Dragoon Zwei, and then because they did 1 and 2, and then they did RPG, and I only had the first disc of Panzer Dragoon RPG because it came on official Sega Saturn magazine. And I bought it and I played it, and I didn't buy the full game, and I wish I had because now it's worth all the money.
Oh really?
Yeah,
it's a shame. Isn't it?
Same with there was a Shining Force game I think, which I had, which is now worth loads of money as well.
Weirdly, my hairdresser is massively into his retro game collecting.
Your hairdresser?
Yeah. It's not I have personal stylist or anything, just the guy who works in my local barbershop. Yeah, and he's got a huge collection of retro games. So he doesn't really play games anymore, but he's really into trading retro games. Spends all his monies on them, and he's got all sorts of things like that. I was trying to sell him my old SNES collection.
He was like, "Nah, I got them."
Yeah, it's full of crap, and they're all a mess. He said he reckoned I could sell my special edition Super Metroid with the guidebook in it for about 40 quid. And then I remembered I'd thrown the box out because the box was conveniently the same size as some of the gentlemen's magazines of the era, and was a good place to store those under the bed. So I think it got thrown out with those.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. What happened to cover discs? Hey,
are they not even? They're not on. They're not on anything.
Not even on PC mags
They're
anymore.
not even on official PlayStation magazine.
I think for PC mags and stuff like that, they just go, "Well, use the internet, idiot."
I think that's what everyone does now, I guess.
Yeah.
Just get on the internet and stuff.
Yeah,
I guess with PSN and...
They were great. I used to, in Spectrum days, brilliant. You get 10 or 12 little games of them. Some of them were awesome. PlayStation, again, you get some great little games on there. SNES, they obviously couldn't really do it. But, yeah.
Official
times.
PlayStation magazine, actually, some great demos and other content on there.
Yeah, and we got one off there called Super Bub, which was brilliant. Just this insanely trippy kind of... shooty blob game
blob
thing was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had when Net Eurosi came out, which was the kit that you could use to develop your own PlayStation games.
If you had £8,000 to spare.
Yeah, if you had a bit of cash. They put some of their games on there as well.
Yeah, they did.
Were pretty good.
Yeah, I think Superbad might have been one of those actually. That's awesome. I think you can play that. And actually, another bit of my extensive research for this was having a little poke around on World of Spectrum and playing some of their games.
Oh yeah,
through the emulator. It's pretty good.
What did you play?
I played a little bit of Saboteur again, and
Does it stand up? Does this stuff stand up?
Saboteur 2 still does, actually.
Really?
Still got that sense of magic. And another game called Slightly Magic, which was brilliant, because that had a little digitised voice thing, went Slightly Magic at the beginning, and you played a little guy, and you shot lightning bits, and you collected worms and put them in a cauldron, and then played Hangman. That was good. Played a bit of Spellbound, and the sequel to that, which was incredibly difficult, was the one I was showing with all the incredibly annoying menus.
Yes. Oh god, that looks terrible.
Yeah, it was great. And Theatre of War I played, which was like a incredibly basic RTS about nuclear war in Europe.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
Chirpy little game. Spy Hunter. Just remembered that.
Yeah. With
See,
the car.
there's a thing I've remembered.
Turbo Esprit.
Turbo Esprit, yeah.
Remember that? Shooting people out the window and chasing drug dealers.
Bit like Chase HQ.
Yeah, better than that. Much better than that. In a city, and you had a gun.
Well, Chase HQ too, you had a gun.
Well, it's not Chase HQ though, is it?
Well, no.
Specifically speaking. Favourite game of all of your each individual owned platforms?
Oh God.
Yeah, boring, isn't
it? Well, have you got any? Because I will need to think.
Oh.
Spectrum.
Oh, Spectrum, mine was probably either this one that I couldn't remember that I was going to ask you to see if you'd remember. Well, all I vaguely remember about it is there was a stage at the beginning where you had to get through this kind of fortification. There was an enemy machine gun at the other end, and you had to run between walls, and you could like throw grenades and shoot them. And then it went to another stage where you were on two platforms on either side of a kind of massive gully in the middle, and you threw sticks across at each other trying to knock each other out. It had like 7 little mini games in one. It was brilliant, and that was by US Gold.
Oh, US Gold, yeah. Brilliant.
That was awesome. Used to play that a lot. Well, Chaos probably on the Spectrum, probably my favourite.
Yeah, Spectrum for me, probably. I don't know, Spy Hunter. Which was fun, sort of top-down racing thing.
Yeah.
Going through levels, shooting up dudes. Trying to get into the water, though, was a complete bastard.
Well, that's why they got it for GTA.
Sometimes you have to go into the water, and so you could change into a boat. Mm-hmm. But the path down to the water was really narrow, and basically what would happen is you just kind of clip the scenery, and then you'd immediately die. So, it was
fantastic.
It was pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah.
There was another game I was just thinking of for the Spectrum which I really liked. Oh, Cobra.
Yeah.
Which was
pretty good.
Based on the Sylvester Stallone film that I don't think anyone's ever seen.
Exceedingly hard again.
Yeah, but you just walk around levels headbutting people.
Yeah.
Pretty
Drug
good.
dealers again, I think. Although there was a lot of prams.
There were a lot of prams in that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Probably something to do with the film that I hadn't seen. So after that Master System, favourite game on the Master System? Oh, shit.
It's tough, that one.
That is a tough one. Probably Wonder Boy in Monsterland.
Yeah.
Or Monster World. I can't remember which one it was.
Wasn't that favourite then?
No. Well, there were 2 games. I think one was called Monsterland, one was called Monster World.
Oh.
Confused. It's like Disneyland, Disney World, mate.
Is it? One's in Florida, one's in California?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay.
Amiga. Oof.
Don't remember that one.
Lots of stuff in the Amiga I liked. Can't remember any of it now.
Good.
Well, there was a game with knights where you were...
Joust?
It was kind of like 4 or 5 player. And there was like a map screen. And you could go and do different things. Like you got this wizard's tower. I can't remember what you had to do exactly. But then you go into sort of It was called Knights of the something, maybe. I'm waving my arms around. This will really help you trying to figure this out. But yeah, and then you get into these action sequences, which are again, I think, were single screen, and like different enemies would run at you from both sides, and you have to like chop their heads off and stuff. And then sometimes you have to fight other knights, but it was really difficult. And most of the time, you just get your head chopped off, and it'd roll around the screen, and blood would spurt out. Oh, Barbarian, that was good.
Segue.
Yeah, with Wolf from Gladiators on the front cover.
Yeah, and a busty lady.
A busty lady, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember who she was.
That one.
Yeah, what were your favourite games of?
Ooh, SNES, Mario Kart.
Oh god, yeah, I didn't have a SNES, but my mate did, and yeah, Mario Kart.
The PC, this RPG that I cannot remember, and I will give 265 and a chew it to anyone who can tell me what it was, because it's really bothering me. And then I've not had any favourite games since then.
No,
really.
It's all been downhill
Just
since that.
Just given up on games.
All been downhill since.
N64 was GoldenEye, obviously.
I didn't have an N64. Favourite game on the Saturn? Now, I don't know. Maybe Daytona, actually.
Probably Dead or Alive, wasn't it?
I played a lot of Daytona. Was Dead or Alive on the Saturn?
Don't know. Just know you're a pervert.
Virtua Fighter 2 was a pretty decent conversion.
That was the one where you used the shoulder buttons and you did the little step out thing kind of thing, and you could just keep doing that, and you could just keep
circling around.
Yeah, that was really annoying.
And there were good conversions because it was because of Sega's short-sightedness to do with 3D graphics. It was a very powerful 2D machine, so it had the best conversions of the Street Fighter Alpha games.
Yeah,
and also Marvel. There was a Marvel versus Street Fighter. Which came with a RAM expansion pack.
Oh, crikey.
Which you could plug in.
It's good, isn't it?
More RAMs.
Yeah, I had one of those, the N64, actually. Slotted that little bad boy in the front.
And, yeah, what did I have after that? And then it was just PlayStation. And then PlayStation.
Everyone knows
and then
about that.
PS2 and then Xbox and then all the rest of it basically in it.
Yeah. Been there now. Now here we are today.
Here we are today in these lovely jobs, we are in.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all right.
Panned out very well.
Yeah, I really helped me gratifyingly, tell my mum to shut up, having told me I'd wasted several of my years playing games. And I was like, no, I didn't. Screw you, Mum.
My mum.
But thanks for buying me all those computers.
Yeah. Thanks for facilitating. Yeah, my mum was always going on to me about how she would never tell me outright, you can't do that. But she would just ask me the question. She'd be like, can you make any money out of this?
Is this going anywhere?
Yeah. Are you going to be a terrible failure? Am I going to have to support you for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Am I going to have to look the other way when people ask me what you do at parties so they don't see my tears?
I'm not sure. Wow, I wonder what my mum does say to people like that. Anyway.
That's probably enough. That's a subject for another podcast.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit indulgent now, isn't it?
Yeah. I was just saying it's nearly 50 minutes.
Nearly 50 minutes. Oh,
Good
my
Lord.
God. Well, I hope you've remembered. I hope you've remembered. I hope you've
remembered to wake up and turn this off.
I hope that you've enjoyed half-remembered memories of stuff, what we used to play.
Yeah, it's a good job we both did such extensive research.
Yeah, we did a lot of extensive research. I hope we've really painted a picture of what all these games were like. Yeah. I suspect we haven't, other than them being really hard.
Yeah, and why you probably should work on your memory skills more.
Yeah, don't drink so much.
No, that's true.
I think this is what...
no games involved. Oh, actually, that was probably my favourite game on the spectrum.
What?
Because it involved heavy drinking. How to Be a Complete Bastard.
Is that an actual thing?
Yeah, it's brilliant. You played a complete bastard at a party, and you had to go around and really screw everyone over. You had to get a frozen peach out the fridge and throw it at a guy and smash him in the face. And you could walk into rooms and fart, which would annoy people, but if you weren't careful, you'd explode.
Well, that is the danger.
And then you could do things like putting used condoms in people's coat pockets and stuff like that.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's brilliant. I'm pretty sure you can play that on the World of Spectrum. It was, I think, based on a sketch from some show. I think the guy was supposed to be Rick Mail, who you played.
Right, okay.
But yeah, it was fantastic. It's brilliant. It was like school days, but for grown-ups, basically going around just pissing people off and making sure they had an awful party, throwing up in the fridge and that sort of thing.
Well, speaking of awful times, we should probably move on.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thanks very much for coming in, Dan.
It's a pleasure. I was only next door.
You were indeed. 2 desks over, no less. Thank you for listening. If you've listened to this far, then well done to you. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.